meie tänane külaline on Inglismaalt Graham Stonage. Ta on UK mentor, kes on siis keskendunud oma töös just toiduainetööstusele. Ja mul on suur hea meel öelda, et Graham on ka Baltic Interim Assotsiatsiooni külalismentor ja koolitaja ning peagi me saamegi teada, millised on olnud tema takistused ja teekond sellel interim maastikul. So lovely to see you again, Graham. So first of all, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, Tring. I'm quite busy and enjoying some good summer weather in the UK.
Yes, same here. There is a bit of sun outside, which is like a surprise. It's a huge surprise today. But let's start, first of all, could you please describe me your career, the 25 years that you have been actively interim and working?
Yes, I basically came out of corporate, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit later, into interim work. I started working with a couple of small businesses, and then I got a job with Twinings Tea as an interim national account manager. The job was supposed to be for 3 months. The contract was 3 months. But then it renewed several times, and I ended up being there for 3 years, doing 4 different jobs. And I think that is the nature of interim, that you get a lot of different and exciting opportunities, and you can change frequently. I also worked for a year with Nestlé, and I've worked with other businesses that HKScan you may well be familiar with. I did several years with HKScan, again in a number of different roles with a number of different projects. And I think that's one of the nice things about interim is it can roll on. But equally, it allows you the flexibility to opt out if you want to.
But now, when you look back at your career, of course, you have had challenges. Maybe you can just describe a few of the challenges and how you overcome.
Of course. There's probably 3 really big challenges. The first one would be actually deciding to go into an interim career in the first place. And it's something I had thought about when I was working with Pepsico. Because a lot of people come out of big businesses like PepsiCo, like Coca-Cola, and they move into the interim world, consultancy world, and so on. And it was something that I had an eye on, and was a career direction that I was interested in. But when I left PepsiCo, I took some good advice, and the consultant that I actually had a session with, she said to me, "You're not ready yet." And she said, "Yes, do it again, but do another corporate first."
But why? But why you weren't ready?
She said because a lot of my experience was just with one company, and because I was familiar with one company's ways of doing things and so on, which it's fine. It's her advice. And so I then got another role with a big brewing business. And then while I was in that role, I had what is now called a side hustle, working with an old friend of mine to develop a small business of his. And that was a very good introduction into interim, because I was doing a little bit here on a specific project for him, and getting paid accordingly. So when I then left the brewing company, I then did an extended interim period with that business that then helped me to get into understanding more about how I dealt with interim and so on. So I think that was the toughest challenge, was deciding when to move into interim and how to do it. And I think fate played a little bit of a hand in giving me the opportunity for the side hustle whilst I was in corporate employment. But it was definitely an intent all along. So that was the first challenge. The second challenge that I've had all the way through is actually resisting the temptation to become a full-time employee.
Really?
Yeah, of the clients that you're working for, because where a client doesn't necessarily understand how interims work and how it should be, they see it almost as a try before you buy, and so they then spend some time trying to get you to sign on to a full-time contract. And it must have been tough because I did it twice. So they say once is bad luck, two is a coincidence, and three times there's something wrong. So I haven't done it a third time. But so that is a really difficult decision, because it's really difficult to resist going into what some people perceive a more secure. You've got things covered that aren't covered in your interim contract, and it's
But when do you know that like now the interim period for me is like it's done? Everything is written in the contract.
It is written in the contract now, but even where it was written in the contract, where those contracts were coming towards an end, the client would be, well, just come and be an employee. It's much easier. It's easier for us. It's easier for you. And twice I wasn't able to say no, and that was really tough.
But what about the breakups then? How do you explain it to the client that okay, now it's enough? Or how have you done it?
Well, relying on the contract is a good thing. And there's always throughout the process you always talk about when I've finished, this is what it will look like. So you set up a system for when you finished, or you train somebody for when you finished, or whatever. So
how long should it be, the period? Like if you know that the contract will be like ending, how long is the prep time? Like is it like a week, or no, now that we are like close to the end, or how does it work? It's really interesting because like the human touch, because if you work like for a year or for 2 years with one company, then you get attached, and then you're like kind of a family. It's hard. I totally understand it. But how do you do the final part?
I think it's all about communication, and I think it's about understanding your client and knowing the key stakeholders within the client, and being able to explain to them that actually you are going to leave and you are going to move on because you are an interim and you're not a potential employee. And if that is clear throughout, and that you have conversations throughout, it's like, okay, when I finished, who's going to do this? Or when this project is completed, you will need a full-time whatever the person will be. So I think it very much depends on the project, the relationship with the client, and just good old-fashioned communication.
And are you usually like a mentor to the next one who is stepping in also to do the job, or?
Again, that depends with the client. At Twinings in particular, that was very good, because in one instance I swapped roles with one of the guys. He was being promoted from field sales manager to senior national account manager, and so I swapped to do his role, and we helped each other through the first few weeks because we were both still in the business. But that was a change of contract for me. For him, it was just a promotion. So in other businesses, it's not so straightforward. It's like, well, you've done your 12 months. Thank you very much. We'll move on. And sometimes they don't replace you, but you have to not take that personally. You have to be confident that the job you've done is a good job and a thorough job and the best of your ability. And that it was only for a fixed period of time, and that fixed period of time has finished.
I totally understand what you're feeling. I have gone through the same thing. So sometimes it's like, oh, now someone else is stepping in and maybe I wasn't good, and I totally get it. But then you have to work with your own mindset. So it's
exactly that. And my third thing is actually turning down. The third toughest thing is turning down roles. Because sometimes the nature of interim is you can be without a role for a period of time. And you start to think, well, if I don't take the next one, I won't get another one. I'll be out too long, and so on. It hasn't really happened to me, because throughout the 25 years, I only had 3 weeks without one contract, where I had no contract at all. I had quite a few times where I had where I had contracts that were maybe half a day a week. So I didn't have a lot of income coming in. But
saying no is the hardest thing for the younger generation. I can totally see that right now. How do you do it?
It absolutely is, when you've got commitments.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why my counselor, when I was first coming into it, said to me, "You're not ready yet." It was partly because I didn't have the right mindset to be able to say no. And I think to be able to say no is a really key characteristic of an interim manager, because if you do something just because they're going to pay you money to do it, ultimately it kind of defeats the object of being an interim manager in the first place.
Yeah, this is really good advice. The 3 main challenges. I think I have a lot to learn from you also, by the way. But now let's go to practical advice. So what about, what would you say to the company owners or the CEOs who are facing some kind of problematic time on the market, and there is a change? How to encourage them to take in the interim? What would you say to them? Why interim is a good thing?
Well, I think there's several things behind that. I think the first thing is that the way the world is at the moment and the pace of change, every organization is moving very quickly. We're into a digital revolution now, and businesses are like, I haven't got a clue. Tell me what AI can do for my business. I know, I'll go and buy a load of AI pieces and they've got no idea. So I think the first thing is to be very clear that to transform your business or to manage your business through a difficult period, you need to focus on 3 key things. The first is, what are the processes that you need in order to develop your business in the way that you want it to develop, or the way that it needs to develop to continue its growth or its path. Secondly is, who are the people that you need to implement those processes? And that's where the choice of interims, freelancers, consultants, that's where that choice comes in. Who are the people, and which of those processes are those people going to be involved with? And then finally, it's okay, what is the tech that is needed to support those guys? And a lot of businesses do it the other way around. We buy the tech, we tell the people they've got to use them, and then somehow try and get a process out of that. And that is a recipe for disaster. And so it's always about the processes first and then the people. And then within that, it should be clear that, well, actually, this is a process that we need to set up. There's nobody with the expertise in our business. Who can we bring in to set this process up, establish it, move forward? An interim manager who's done it before, or who has the capability to do it, is an ideal solution, because you don't have to take on a highly paid executive for forever in order to do a 3-month job. It's
that's true.
Financially, and you tend to get, and because one of the big things I would advise any interim manager to do is always operate at a level below that you can, because then you can deliver a quality job. So therefore, for the executives who are facing this issue of why should they have an interim manager, they usually get somebody who's overqualified for the role. and then that person isn't clamoring after promotion, they're not clamoring after career development, and so on. So all of those commitments aren't there. The focus can all be on the job that the interim is being asked to do.
Quick question: how long, like average, your contracts as an interim have been? Like, is it 1 month up to 3 years, or what's the number?
There is no magic number, and that's the same. That's the same with a lot of things within an interim. There's nothing fixed.
Yeah, but actually, it's good.
Which is part of the attraction for it. Yeah, some can be 3 months. Some the shortest was probably 3 months. Some can be longer. I've had 6 months, 12-month contracts, no longer than 12 months.
Yeah.
Although, as I said, the first 3-month contract with Twinings became 3 years because it was different. It was different contracts, and I think the challenge is that actually what I've been able to do is overlap contracts. So doing 3 months at 3 days a week with one company and 6 months at 2 days a week with another company. So that and that works really well within interim. You can do that quite well. And that gives you a lot of experience coming in from 2 different areas. So if you can manage the difference, which is great.
So, but now let's talk about the past, future, and present. Not the grammar, but let's talk about how interim management has changed during, for example, the past 10 years. How is it right now, and how do you see the future?
Well, I think it's expanding is the first thing, and I think the thing with interim management is it was quite often viewed both by the managers and the employers of clients as a means to an end of recruiting a new employee, but testing them out in the first place, or in a chance for the manager to prove themselves and to test whether they wanted to work for the company. And there will still be an element of that. There is no question. But I think in the present, the world has developed through what you might like to call the gig economy, where freelancers, consultants, and interim managers, and the words are to an extent interchangeable, where they can provide great value, great service, and short-term outstanding results. And as graduates come into the workplace, they have no intention of working with one employer for life, as used to happen. Even when I started into employment, it was sort of the thing that you would be with an employer for 10, 15, 20 years, get your gold clock and retire, sort of thing. But that isn't the case anymore. And recruiters will tell you that, HR managers will tell you that. People who move into long-term are not really looking for long-term careers anymore. They're looking for roles that satisfy them in the short term.
Yeah.
So with that increased churn in the workforce, interim managers can play a great role. So maternity cover is another one. The interim manager can fit in, drop in for a period of time while the employee decides whether she's going to return to work. And that is a great advantage, because you've got a quality operator covering the role.
So basically what you're saying is that the interim management is right now in a growing phase. Because I can feel it also in the Baltics. So what advice would you give? How can I say? How can you be sure that you have found really good interim? Like, I know that a lot of CEOs or company owners, they are worried that they're not sure if the interim is good. Is it good to choose from association, or what basic things you need to understand or look for, or what's tips for the
Well, if that would I'd be worth an awful lot of money if I could answer that perfectly.
I hope so.
But what I think the issue is it's recruitment is a challenge anyway. You never know, no matter what process you put in place, you never know that that's going to work out.
Yeah, that's true.
And so therefore, to bring in an interim manager through a network, through an association, who you have some confidence due to that affiliation has got the credentials that you need, and it's only a short-term period, it de-risks the whole recruitment process, or it allows you to get the job done while you recruit your permanent solution, so that your recruitment becomes more precise, more targeted. There is always a risk to taking on an interim manager, which is the same as taking on an employee. It's if you get somebody who you don't get on with, you can't communicate with, it's a problem. Whichever. The advantage with an interim manager is that contract can be finished fairly quickly.
Yeah.
So it's from the client's perspective, it is de-risked. It means that there may be some more churn in the actual faces in the office, but that isn't always a bad thing either.
Yeah.
So, but I think from the interim manager's perspective, the more credibility they can have when they talk to the clients, the better it is. So if they can have an accreditation from an association or some form of
recommendations, maybe
recommendations are crucial, and some sort of affiliation to an organization that actually has a reputation for providing good quality people, then that works. In the way that an employer would go to the same recruitment consultant time after time, because that recruitment consultant provides them good people. Yeah. In that way, the comparison is exactly the same. Find a good interim association who can provide you with a choice of quality interim managers, and it takes some of the pain out of the job.
So thank you so much for your time. So many good tips, insights, and we will see soon. I know we have things to discuss. So, but thank you a lot, and see you soon again.
Thank you very much, Trin. It's been a pleasure. Very much enjoyed it. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.